goosebumps up and down my neck. Woo! Okay, welcome everybody. Shifted Online. I'm Christina Merkley, the Shifted Coach, and I'm just going to mute some of us as we're coming online here. Great. Okay. Many of you have signed up for this waiting for a bit, and some of you are coming on right at the last second, which is what usually happens with synchronicity and sometimes procrastination. So welcome, however you found yourself here. Let me go over a quick agenda. Hopefully you're able to see the view. Again, you want to hit that enlarge button so you can see the presentation that I'm sharing. And on there is just welcomes and just the agenda. So welcome and outcomes I'm going to go over here in a second. We have some logistical stuff when we kick off a course like this, and bravo for getting on the WebEx if that's new for you. And I'll just go over some of the things. We have quite a few different materials and different things that will aid us as we go through these 7 weeks together. So I'm going to go through those different logistics and give you a heads up on them. This is Shifted, so I will jump in and give us an overview of Shifted, what the system is and what you can expect over these 7 weeks and how we're going to tackle it. And we have some wonderful materials, so there are 2. You may have already found it on the class resources page. The whole underlying thing that supports us as we go through this program is what's called my Shifted system, and it's got 17 visual maps. And there's also a big whopper accompanying manual. So there's kind of 2 main files that you'll want to, if you haven't already found, you'll want to find those and download those to your computer and probably print off. It's up to you if you want to print off the big manual. I know it's a big one. But you definitely want to print off the map pack. And I will be going over that in just a few minutes about what that is. And that provides the backbone, if you will, for Shifted and for our 7 weeks together. There are 14 maps in there. You don't have to do every single one. Keeners do. And you definitely will get the most out of it when you participate and dive into these things. But I will give you a heads up on what the most important ones are, and the ones that I think are kind of supplemental, so to speak, I'll let you know what those are, and they'll be optional assignments if you care to take them. Okay? We are using something called the Ning forum, which is an online forum. If you've been in a course with me before, you've probably used one, because I really like to attach them to my courses as a way for us to interact with each other. So I will be bringing up the Ning. Some of you have made your way into that already, and it's a very handy addition to these live courses. I don't think of this as just 7 times that we meet online each Saturday. I think of it as the whole 7-week container, right? Because even if you're just showing up for these or listening to the recordings, right, the work that we're doing has this trickle effect and this ripple effect, and it's really working us even when we're not here sitting in front of the computer on Saturday morning, right? So the Ning allows us over those 7 weeks, even beyond, to be in that container and be able to share and respond about however it's affecting you, whenever it's affecting you, because it's 24/7. If you're up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about something on your map, or you're trying to crack that vision, something in the life map is hanging you up, then you can go to that Ning and you can write about it and share. And maybe if somebody else is up in the middle of the night or the other side of the world where it's day for them, they can communicate with you and, you know, share their thoughts and reactions and stuff. So it's just a way of building community. So, and it's really just, it's as successful as we make it, right? As you use it and as you have it as a go-to place. So I'll go over the Ning and I'll review that. And then we're going to just jump in. This is one of the, this first call I have to do a lot of talking at, so to speak. And as a facilitator and coach, it always makes me nervous when I spend a lot of time talking at, because I like to get things interactive and it being a co-built process between us all. So I do have to upload this a little bit, getting all the basics kind of set, and then we're going to dive in. We're going to do the first map of the process, which is called At the Crossroads, and we're going to do a collective, a group at the crossroads today. And I'll show you what that is. I now have, I love modern technology. Yes, it sucks at times. Yes, it's hard to keep up to date on it, but it allows us to do some really cool stuff. So I now use and welcome, Brenda. I can hear you. You figured out that wonderful modern technology.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. And one of the things I have is a tablet. Those of you who are interested in the visual way of working too, you might be curious about this, and some of you are in this program because you're on your way to the Visual Coach certification, and I talk about this in much more depth there and in the fundamentals class as well around the visual stuff. But I primarily am using tablet now. I'm sitting here in front of my computer, working with clients this way, and using the tablet to draw things out. I'm not the greatest at it yet. It's been about a year. I still adore and love the good old-fashioned marker and paper. It's nothing that quite replaces that visceral thing for me. But, you know, you do what you do, and you have these new tools that are coming along. So you'll see me bring up the map and then actually use this tablet to literally write on it and do some graphic recording style of our notes as we go along. So, okay. And we will conclude with assignments. This is totally an adult learning experience. I'm not mean old Miss Merkley making you do anything. Hopefully your higher self has brought you here, and it's up to her or him to kick your butt to do anything if that's supposed to happen. So I will lay out what the recommended steps are, right, in terms of homework or assignments. Totally up to you if you're going to take it. I hope you do, because it's an investment to take my courses. So you're going to, just by showing up or listening to the recording, stuff's going to happen, but more stuff's going to happen if you actually do, you know, what we're doing in this program and crack out some of these maps and actually, you know, scroll on them. And it's not about the map. Let me say that right off the bat. Even though I'm a huge advocate, obviously, of visual thinking and working, the visual method kind of, especially when you're doing it yourself, which you're going to be doing with these maps, it kind of corrals and galvanizes our energy in certain ways. And that, for me, is what this is about and what Shifted is really about. Yes, we've got the layer of the maps, but even more importantly, it's what those maps help us do with our thinking and our focus, and then eventually our feeling, right, our energetic. That's where the magic and the power of this is. And the visuals are really helpful because they kind of keep us in a certain place long enough for our energy to build up and do its thing. Okay, so yeah, up to you about whether you're going to do those maps or not with those assignments. I stick around after. We will run, this class goes for 90 minutes. I stick around afterwards for Q&A. If my schedule allows, I stay as long as there's energy. I really enjoy having that kind of interaction. We may not have too much on the first class here, the first, this isn't even really a class, this is an experience, so the first session. So, you know, you can unmute yourself at any time if you want to ask any questions as we go along. If there's something a little more in depth or maybe something that you think is outside the scope of what we covered, hold on to it. When we get to the Q&A, I'm happy to dialogue about anything you want to chat about, okay? And with each other too, if you want to do that. Okay, so that's our overview. Anybody have any questions on that? I will go into the agenda and what we're going to cover over these 7 weeks and stuff in a sec. If there's any Law of Attraction fans or people who are aware of Napoleon Hill, this is kind of a classic in that genre. I like this quote, and I'll use this, and I think I use it every single time in this course when we're opening up, because this is what we're really doing in Shift It. So what the mind of woman. He's a little outdated, so what of woman and man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So we're going to be using this system to conceive, right? That's that focus and that visioning work. The believe is what I call the trouble at the border, getting that aligned, and then that achieving that action, right? You do attract things. It's miraculous what can happen when you start doing this kind of focus work, and the things that start shifting in your life and start showing up on your doorstep without a lot of action, right? But there is also the action side of things, which we weave into Shifted as well. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you a little spiel on me. If you've heard this before, it's a good time to go get some tea, whatever you need. Okay, so how do I come to have the chutzpah to sit here in front of a WebEx and put out all these obnoxious emails all the time about come join this program and you're going to rock your world, blah, blah, blah. So this is a quick visual bio on me and my world, so to speak. I'm a pretty seasoned visual practitioner, so I've been in this visual way of working for going past 20 years now. And I started out as what's called a visual recorder, so off on the side in pretty conventional corporate business meetings, not-for-profit, governmental kind of stuff, visual meetings. And then I eventually moved into being a lead facilitator, so not just being a scribe to that stuff, but to actually holding the space at the same time. My specialty is strategic planning, future search kind of work. I'm also very good at conflict resolution, mediation kind of stuff, so the emotional work, I love that. So that's the forums I started to move into, again, on that group side. And then all the way along underneath, I am a seeker by nature. I'm a Canadian, but I went down to the U.S. for grad school in the mid-90s, and I studied organizational development and transformation. And the transformation, that emotional kind of side, right brain side, I really like that. I am very much a blend of right and left brain, very grounded, and also, especially if you've been reading my e-zine, I've been giving kind of snippets of it. There's amazing stuff happening for me right now with the right brain, and I'm going through a Kundalini awakening experience over the last couple of years with all sorts of energy flowing through me. So you'll hear me at times. I'll move and shake as that energy is kind of happening. So anyway, the visual coach work is my passion area, and I've really, I guess for 12 years now, after that corporate and group background and that background in strategic planning, that's a wonderful frame, and I've taken it into personal growth work and into coaching, and bringing in the visual as well, and adding in a lot of the energetic and the emotional work. And you'll hear more about that as we go along. So a pioneer in visual coaching, I do have Shifted. You're going through this container. This is my signature system, and all of you are going to be going through this as an individual, experiencing this, right, and going through your own shift. Some of you are also or want to be some sort of process professional that works with individuals that potentially this experience that you're about to go through, you want to be able to lead that experience for others. And if that's the case, or if that's the case down the line, there's a visual coach certification program that includes being trained and licensed to be able to use Shifted with other people. So that's all that experience leading up over time to weave into that. And I think we're going into, I think this is our 6th year for the visual coach certification. Okay, so North America international experience, also I've played in a lot of different worlds, so depending on what it is that you're wanting to manifest in your life, and especially on the, the work front, I do attract a lot of people for right livelihood issues and authenticity issues of being who you are more fully and having that show up in what you do for your work and profession, if you care to. So I have played in corporate, not-for-profit, government, small business, and solopreneurs. I coach a lot of people on creating their independent its, whatever that might be out in the world. And I tend to focus on people in the 50 to 300K level. That's my niche. That's where I play. And, you know, that 300K level is where I stay with my business. And there's another layer of complexity beyond that that I'm not willing at this time to engage with. So this is the space that I play and I know. So again, depending on what you're wanting to do in Shifted. And you don't have to have anything to do with process work to go through Shifted as well. I just tend to attract people who do. Okay. So here's just some pictures of this stuff. We're not in person. Shifted actually did begin in person. So as I was working with organizations and then I started to create and really experiment and get my coach training. I'm also a hypnotherapist, a lot of stuff in law of attraction and different energy modalities. As I began to do that, I eventually brought people into my living room is where it first started. And we've got a small, intimate little group. It's been a while since I've had this, and I've been talking lately about, boy, this started in my living room. And so now we're kind of mimicking that. We're getting the same numbers as the living room, right? That 7, 8 people number. And so just taking that paper and working with people in person, and then it's morphed over the years to now that technology's come along, for us to have a digital living room, a global living room here where I can connect with you wherever you might be. And I love that. I love the synchronicity that brings us together and the shared energy, and that we're able to connect via our computers and do this despite great distances between us. So when I work online, it's a little different, right? We don't have that. You're certainly welcome to take your maps and redraw them big if you want to work that way. But we work with little small-sized templates, which are a little more convenient for this kind of way of working when we're working online. So some of this big paper stuff isn't going to be applicable to what we're doing, but it could be down the line depending on what you want to do with your visual skills if you're developing them. Okay. Here is this is called a meeting startup map, and this is a tool from a company I used to work for back in the US called the Grove Consultants. And this has it's a 4Z. It's got 4 component parts to it. And the first thing is I want to talk about is outcomes. So this is us, and if you can see the little metaphor in here, we've got a river stream and some boulders and some rapids, and it's all heading down the stream towards these outcomes. And we're in a raft together. And this is going to be us over these 7 weeks going down this river together. And these are the outcomes that ideally I, as your space holder here, want to get us to. So up to you, but the intention is to complete the Shifted Kit by the end of the series. We're going to walk through this step by step over these 7 weeks together, and that'll be a desired outcome for you if you'd like it, is to complete that kit. By doing that, you're going to have much greater self-awareness and understanding. Shifted is a deep process. It's a very deep, reflective, powerful process. So there's no way if you go through this you can't get greater self-awareness and understanding about yourself. Embedded in it are law of attraction principles, energetic principles. You don't have to be into that stuff. I will talk to it occasionally, especially when we get to session 4. I'm not trying to force feed anybody that they're not into, but I just want you to know that underneath here there are. For me, that comes from actually even my organizational background about focusing on the future, right, and doing that visioning kind of work and having to have positive morale within the leader and the ranks to make things happen. Well, we got a leader and we got the ranks within us when we're doing stuff in our individual life. And for me, that's what law of attraction is about that alignment, right? And that being able to rally the troops, so to speak, even if it's just your inner troops within you. And you're here probably for a reason. There's probably some sort of either dissatisfaction or just desire for more that's brewing in you. And there's probably certain areas of your life that you're wanting to bring a focus to and perhaps shift, maybe subtly or maybe significantly. So that's my ideal for you too, as an outcome, is that you get the shift in the area that you're focusing on, that you're working on. And this ideally is going to be fun and pleasurable and have a lot of momentum to it and advancement, and help you really appreciate your journey. The visuals are wonderful for seeing our lives, especially we're going to dive in here in the first assignment and do your life maps, and you get that 10,000-foot view. And even if, like me, you've had some bumps along the way, there's a greater picture there. And the visuals are really wonderful for helping us to draw that out and see that and appreciate that, and you know, make some course corrections if we need to, or just really go for, you know, the time we have left on this planet of making it as aligned to our core self as possible. So that's the outcomes. How we're going to get there, I'll go over the agenda in a second. In terms of the roles, I'm here as your graphic, your visual coach and guide. You guys are all co-creators. We're co-creators in this together. Yes, I do my thing, but I love doing this program because every time it's different. It's different because I'm different every time I do it. I'm in a growth phase and development too. So I have new things that I'm understanding that I bring each time to the table. And I often do my own maps alongside as you guys are doing your maps. But your co-creators, you all bring so much to the table about who you are and your background and your perspective, right? So I think of us as all co-creators of this experience that we're about to go through. So it helps to be active and engaged. You don't have to be, you know, if you don't want to participate with anybody, if you never want to speak up, if you never want to post anything in the ning, that's okay. That's totally up to you. And you're probably going to get more out of it if you can move beyond whatever is keeping you, whatever that reluctance is, to move beyond that and to get active and engaged with us. It'll probably help you stretch and move into areas and help that shift of yours. I have a couple of norms, meeting norms or ground rules, right, of how to be together in this container. So I just invite you to join me with these, and if there's any others that you'd like added, please let me know. You can add that in the chat or unmute yourself at any time and let me know. But these just are a couple things that I found work well as we go into this container. So me as a facilitator, I'm going to help this, but everybody participate, no one dominate. We just want to have shared air. I love extroverts because a program like this, I need you guys to pipe up, and you help me by bringing things forth and demonstrating, etc. Occasionally I may ask somebody who we haven't heard from, right? I'm an introvert actually myself, so I know what that's like in a group, and sometimes it helps to be, you know, the mic passed to you or to ask how things are landing for you. So I'll do that so that we've got good shared air happening. I am really a stickler for I statements. Many of you are process workers too, so you get this. So when we language, sometimes it will slip in the you, right? And it's just a way of talking, and we really do mean me in that, but it helps for us to own that and say I. People can hear things easier because when we're using you language, it's like, wait a second, that's actually not true about me, and we can get on the defense. So I statements, just really owning your perspective. We're going to have people with different perspectives in this container, coming, you know, from very different places, different cultures, different worldviews. So just, we each have our own valid perspective and truth. So you can help own that by just using the I language. And I'll pipe up. If you hear me going I, That's why. It's to help you to make that shift to the I language. Trust the process, it works. There will be parts of this process that you may not, on first blush, think you're going to like. And I often find it's those things that you avoid or think you're not going to like, when you actually go and do them, that might be the area that you get the greatest impact from. So just kind of watch yourself as you go through. Different temperaments and personalities respond to different things in the process. So just notice your reactions about stuff and get, you know, bring some inquiry to that and get curious about that. And I always like the whole adage of, you know, don't make it a big hairy deal to do this stuff. These maps are fun and they're easy. Just sit down. Give yourself like, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes and see what happens. And I guarantee you, you give yourself 10 minutes, you're going to get hooked and you're going to complete that map and you're going to end up, your energy is going to start changing, you're going to feel good. But sometimes we turn it into too big a deal, right? And then we don't sit down and do it. So anyway. Trust the process, it works. Get in there, pick up a marker or pencil or something, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be visual. You don't have to do any drawing. The drawing is basically done for you. You know, just go for it. This final thing over here, this is, you're going to hear this as we get further along in the program. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. The terminology I use for that is flip it, so making that flip, right? We will sometimes, I'll ask somebody what they want and they'll tell me what they don't want. Very natural thing. It happens a lot in our worlds. But I'll catch you and go, great, that's what you don't want, so let's flip that. Like, what would the opposite of that be? Not that just because you flip something, you're automatically going to get it, but we got to reroute those neural pathways in your habitual thinking, right, to start to feel into, wow, what is the different thing than what I have been feeling or thinking for so long that I'm so stuck in that, right? What is that foreign territory over there? Once you make that shift and you start to poke into that foreign territory, it's not so foreign anymore. And the more you do that, it starts to take on some familiarity, and like attracts like from law of attraction. So this is a really important one. So occasionally I'll interrupt or I'll pipe up when I'm hearing somebody share something, and I'll invite you to flip it and to reach further about what you really want as opposed to what you don't. Okay. I'm going to go in here now and just show you some of your materials and give you an overview with Shift It. And the program comes with a lot of things to support you. First off is that Shift It manual, which is a PDF, which has all the directions of how to go through these maps. As I worked with clients over the years and I started to create handy little products to help my clients do things in between our coaching sessions, I went through the process of actually writing down what are the things that I say and the questions I ask and the things that I do with clients when they're working with me, you know, one-to-one in person. And I put all that stuff down onto paper. And that's what is there in your manual. And the map pack, again, is this PDF with all those visuals. So I'm going to go in there now. Give me a second to bring that up on the screen. And I'm going to go through this and give you an overview on Shift It. Okay. Let me give you an overview on the Shift It system. Now, this is your map pack, which has these maps all in a row of how we're going to work through them. Shift It is an acronym. So the actual, right here in the model, the actual name, each letter of the name makes up the name of the module. So for example, the S is satisfaction interrupted, and that's when you come for coaching normally, is when some sort of either satisfaction is brewing in your life, or things are good, but you want more of them. So S is the first stage of the process, what gets you here. The H is the historical work, and I'm going to show you the maps that go along with this in a sec. I am a little different from some coaches. I do believe that coaching is all about moving forward, but we can understand why there's problems with moving forward if we understand the past and the trajectory that's working within a person. So I actually go back in order to go forward first. So I'll do the Harvest Your History life maps to really get a sense of my client's context and what is propelling them as I encounter them at this point in time. The I in Shift is investigating your now. So once we do that historical work, we go into and we look at where are you standing? X marks the spot right now in your life, and what's brewing at this point in time as you're entering Shifted. From there, we do the F, focus on your future. So here's where you've been, here's where you are. Now, what about where you want to go, right? What is it that is whispering or maybe outright shouting to you about what is next? The next, and this is very different from a lot of strategic planning kinds of processes, is trouble at the border. Yeah, you can put stuff down about what you want, but do you believe that is possible and possible for you, allowable, etc.? That's what the trouble at the border step in the process is. It's that border between where you are and where you say you want to be, and what is, if it is. Sometimes there isn't anything that's preventing, but sometimes there's stuff that's preventing you to be able to step fully into that vision and manifest it. That's what the trouble at the border work is all about, is that resistance work and going in there and bringing shining the light of day on it and figuring out what the heck is going on, that we may be able to release some of that drag and pull so that you can get what it is that you say that you want. Ink it, don't just think it. As we move into the it and shift it, this whole process is ink it, don't just think it. But there's a little bit that I do in there, in that particular part of the process, that helps you start to get your thinking about your creations of how you're going to get to that vision down. And then we've got take action. Actually save that for the end, and some people want to get into action right away, but we want to make sure that you're actually lined up against the right hill, so to speak, right, that you're going to be climbing here first and getting that energy aligned. And then when that, particularly when the energy gets correct, the actions actually can happen quite spontaneously. And or you can get creative if there are blocks about maybe how you can involve other people or other resources to help you do what you know that you need to be doing in order to create that thing that you want. Okay, I'm diving into the maps now. This first one here we're going to do today. So this is the satisfaction interrupted stage. Right at the beginning, it's at the crossroads. So don't worry as I go through all of this. That's a lot to take in at once, but I'm just giving you an overview. And as we go through the program together, we'll step by step do this. So at the crossroads, here you are. All my little figures here in Shift It are very basic, neutral, and you can add on clothes and hair and different things to make them personal for you. So here you are standing, X marks the spot as you're coming into this container right now. So I'm going to invite you to start thinking as we, pretty soon I'm going to collect your answers, to start thinking about how come I'm here? How come I'm showing up for Shift It? What is it that are the crossroads issues that are bringing me here? And what are my desired outcomes? What is it that I want to get out of this 7-week experience, out of this investment that I'm making for myself, right? Powerful thing at the very beginning to start to jot this down. And you can come back, like you can with any of the maps and shift it, you can come back and look at them over time and see how this shifts and changes as you go along. So that's our first map at the crossroads. Now we move into H, Harvest Your History, and these are the series of the life maps. And you can change this. This is kind of the arrival scene. I've got kind of a traditional arrival scene with a typical mom-dad setup. Change these to reflect whatever is your particular situation. You might have some siblings, some other family members, or other caretakers, or institutions or something in there that was there when you arrived on the scene. And we move through over time. So we've got one here, just the childhood years. We've got late childhood into adolescence, young adulthood. Adulthood, we might have to print out the adulthood map a couple times depending on how much has happened or how old you might be. I know I need a couple of those maps printed out myself now. And notice on all these maps, we've got these little bubbles up along the top. Those are to collect beliefs. I am not concerned so much about what it is that's happened in our lives, the details. What I'm concerned about from a coach perspective is what's the meaning that you have applied to that? What is the belief that is operating? So as we look back in those early years, we're often, you know, influenced hugely by the folks that are around us. So it's going to be mostly a collection probably of their beliefs. Right? And then as we start to individuate and come into our own, we may start to, through our peer group as an adolescent, or our work group or our education group or something, our own created families as we mature, right? We might take on other people's beliefs from that, or our beliefs start to change for different reasons as well. So you make this very visible, right? As you're tracking out the life, what is the harvest of the beliefs from these different eras of your life? This may come, this is handy in of itself, right, to do this process just for personal growth reasons or awareness reasons, but it can especially come in handy down the line with this process when we get into trouble at the border. If you're finding out that you've got that vision and it hasn't for various reasons been manifesting and there's some wonky energy in there, coming back to those life maps can actually be very helpful to tease out what is going on and where the interference might be happening. The final map in that life map series is something called Catch and Release, and it's a tool for analyzing that life map. Looking at the awarenesses you have, and you may have done historical work before, so what are any new awarenesses that you're getting by doing it this time and doing it visually? Also, appreciations and gratitude. We want to put on those selective sifter glasses and really look at what is, what are the glowy parts, what are the things that we're so appreciative of. Sometimes it's even the negative stuff we're appreciative of because we understand the role of it in our life. I just wrote the e-zine this week on the transformational effects of chaos and pressure. Right? There's change models built around this stuff. It's very normal for the so-called negative stuff in our life to be the motivational catalyst that propels us to a much greater good. So sometimes those appreciations and gratitudes can be around, you know, the crappy stuff because of its larger role that it's playing. And then we have a final one about releasing. There will be some stuff in the life map that you probably don't want to bring forward or that you need to cathartic or make a different relationship to. And I'll talk when we get to this later. There is a line with coaching and with therapy, and I'll talk about that if you do have a particularly traumatic background. I'm in the midst of a traumatic studies program right now with the Boston Training Center, Boston Trauma Center, learning so much more about trauma. And, you know, we can talk about that. And I'm going to set some parameters here. There's ways you can go through these maps. If you do have a traumatic background that still triggers you a lot, there's ways that you can go through this mapping process that will keep you safe and keep your energetic in a place that is helpful. And I'll give you some tips of how to do that. You can also skip it by all means too if it just seems too much for you at this point in time. But, you know, this little bonfire process of identifying those things that we do want to release and put to rest and ultimately transform, right, into something different, into that flip. So super powerful process. We're going to jump in right off the bat and do life maps. And this may be a process that continues to trickle out as you go through the program as well, because it is so powerful. Okay, once we've done those, we've finished Harvest the History. Now we're moving into this Investigate Your Now. And a couple of different tools here. This one, if you've, when you signed up with me, I offer this as a free gift on the website, which is the Focus on Me. And this is a classic in hypnotherapy, coaching, others. It's a best practice. Sometimes it's called the life wheel. And it's a way of looking at, okay, right now, right, as X marks the spot, how satisfied are you in the different areas of your life? And, you know, you can cut these cards in different ways. It's an artificial exercise in some ways to silo life out into these different ways. But, yeah, we do it, and we get some useful information. Also, the things that are low scores in terms of satisfaction on this map, chances are those are going to be the things that you're going to apply your shifted process to. You want to bring forward the things that are still feeling good, for sure, but it's those lower scored ones where the dissatisfaction is really low. Obviously, we want to move that satisfaction level up, right? That's where your shift's going to be. So this can be very helpful in identifying what you're going to be focusing on for the rest of your shifted process. Everybody doing okay? I know it's a lot to throw at you, so I'm going to keep going unless I hear any questions or things. Just unmute yourself at any time. Next, we're moving into another tool in that Investigate Your Now. This is a self-inventory. For those of you who do organizational work, this is like a SWOT. This is like a personal SWOT analysis. So we're going to look, you're about to go into this transformational process. We're going to look at what are your strengths, right? What do you have going for you? What are your learning areas? I don't like the word weakness because there's ways that we can work around that. But, you know, what are those things that you may need to learn or develop or somehow bring in? What do you have supporting you? This program, Shifted, and me as your coach, I'm here to be a support for you. You've made that happen for yourself. Ideally, you've got other supports underneath you as well. If not, then that's going to go on your action plan. We want to build in more support for you so that you can have the kind of life that you want to have at this point. And then we make our segue into the visioning work. And we start to figure out here, what are the things that are whispering at you or shouting at you or starting to come in, you know, into awareness about what you want for yourself. What's the next step on your evolution? This is one of the optional ones I've got. It's my take on the vision board, very popular classic exercise in there. I call it essential extracts. And we've moved now, sorry, with the shift here, we've moved into focus on your future. We started that with this last little thing with this self-inventory, and now we've moved into focus on your future, different ways to access your vision, the collage work, and there's other ways you can use this tool as well, of really focusing at what you like and what is calling to you. And this is another classic field or classic move in coaching and future search work is the future self. Love this particular exercise of helping you go out and meet the part of you that has already accomplished what it is that you say that you want, and dialogue with her or him, and they're your best coach because they've done it. They know it. They know you inside and out because they are you, and they've made that journey of actualizing whatever it is that you are to be, and they can guide you, right? Give you that hindsight advice of how to get there and what they did and what they suggest, and gift you certain things to help with that journey. Lovely exercise. Next, we're moving into, this is the central, this is the heart of Shift It, the central map. And if you were to only do just one map in the whole series, make it this one, the magnetism map. And it's a way of taking all this wonderful work that you've done in your visioning and coalescing it into one central place. This often makes its way, and I recommend this, that you print this off, you put this on your fridge, or you can make a smaller version of it and put it in your wallet or something, right, just to have that energetic close to you. It's very powerful to get this down. We've got some little check marks and X's here, and this is once we get to visioning, we then kind of look into your ability to believe and allow that and to align with it. You may, right off the bat, be able to fully align to your vision, no problem. If that's the case, wonderful. Oh, get going. In fact, it will probably already start happening and showing up for you. If, like most of us, there might be one or several things on this vision that aren't quite fully 100% thumbs up flowing energy, that you've got that a wobble in there, to quote Abraham Hicks. They're using that word lately, and I really like it. There's a wobble in your energy. So this is where we move into the trouble, the border, which is all about the wobble tools. Let's figure out what the wobble is, and let's see what we can do to adjust it so that we can get your energy properly aligned. I've got 3 tools to help with that wobble. One is called Flip It Good. The next is called Inner Alignment. And the next is Archaeology of Belief. Okay, the Flip It Good helps you pull out whatever your resistance is around that vision and helps you tease it apart and actually address it. The inner alignment is what's called a subpersonality exercise, and it's sometimes fun and helpful with our resistance to personify it, which means to kind of, and it does, it has its own identity, so we bring that more out, and we actually, it's like conflict resolution, right? Mediation work with a part of yourself and educating it. Often this part of us who is somehow resisting what is on our vision, in a funny way, it's trying to keep us safe, but it's going off of outdated information. And we need to update what's going on in our life because it probably got created somewhere back there in the life map, right? And it's still operating off of that old info. We need to wake it up to go, thank you so much for doing that. That was very helpful way back then. It's not so much anymore. I'm a grown-up now. I survived. I have my own life, and now you're kind of interfering. Would you please help me not to interfere anymore, but to get on plan? And there's a negotiation that you can go back and forth with to make that happen. The archaeology of beliefs is not for everybody. But sometimes the interference that's going on is not about us. It's interference from our lineage. So our background, it could be our mom's side, it's our dad's side. Sometimes it's even if I have found for people who are adopted who maybe have no idea of who their parents are, it's the biological side that's coursing through them. Right? And their relationship to that, their energetic relationship to that, and the messages that they believe about that. So this can help unlock for some people, if there is that kind of family, societal, or even cultural programming that's running them, that's interfering, it can help bring that into the light of day. and then make decisions about, are you going to still let that run you, or is it time to maybe have a different perspective than the people that you came from? Okay, you're hanging in there well, so we're coming down to the end of the process here and the end of the map pack. We've got the big picture plan. This is ink it, don't just think it side of the process. This is where we start to, after all that great work you've done, we're starting to come down and land it and physicalize it. And this is the beginning of an action plan. I start with the 3 main focus areas, the action areas, and then we take those action areas into this take action plan. And that takes 3 areas of focus. We can only handle so much in a shift at once, and we want to keep this relatively simple and doable. You can always come back through shift it again, right? Once you get one shift accomplished, you put yourself through that funnel and you get your next one accomplished. So we just bite off 3 of those action areas, and then we start getting them down into organized to-dos or to-bes, right? For some of us who are very, I'm a T on the Myers-Briggs, right? J, sorry, I meant the J and the P. I'm very organized. I mean, here I am, a person who creates templates out of life, right, to get life all nice and organized. If we're like that, sometimes the thing that we need to actually bring next into things is being, is lightening up, is that feminine side, is the right brain side of things, and trusting another way that it can happen as we just relax and fall back into trust. For folks who are really good at that, then they probably need the other side of it, which is the left brain, which is the organization, which is, okay, you can actually help in your own rescue here instead of just waiting for the universe to take care of everything. And you can get organized and start to put some of those tangible, tactical things in that you know you need to take care of. And once you take care of those, then the next ones can start happening. So getting us down to that wonderful level of organization. This is shifted as a big orientation process, right? So as we come down to the end of it here, where we get these tangible steps, now we got to make a segue to put that into our life and actually do these steps, that they don't stay as this conceptual, nice little neat plan, but we actually take that step and we bring it into our week and we figure out which one or ones we're going to do that week. This is where ongoing coaching comes in very handy for implementation coaching. Quite a few of the people that I work with, when I do shift it is one offering, right? And when they come to the end of shift it with me, they're like, I don't want you to go. And I'm like, I'm happy to stay. Like, let's keep working this. So we will then segue into a process of the work after shifted, where it's working this plan. They've got their vision, they've got their action plan. We know the typical resistance that comes up. Then let's follow this out over time. And we might work together once a week or once a month, whatever their pace is, and see how this unfolds over time and bring support so that it does happen. And deal with whatever bugaboos come up in the process, right? Because there's always going to be stuff that emerges that we have to be mature about and how to deal with and keep on going. Okay, so that takes us through shift it. Here's our final map in the process. It's called Declaration of Intent. As we segue out of these 7 weeks together, I mean, I hold this space for you. I do what I can as your coach and your facilitator, but this is really, you're doing the shift. This is totally an inside process for you, and then an outside with the actions that you take. So this is really helping just do that baton pass, right, back to you, and make it very clear about you crossing over that commitment line. What are you going to release and what are you going to claim, right, as we wrap up shift it and set you up well so that energy really creates a wonderful momentum for you as you leave the confines and safety of our container and you bring that into your real world and let it keep on running through you. So that's the final step of shift it. So there you go. There's all those maps. That's our route. That's what we're going to be doing over our time together here. And what I'd like to do now, without any more further talking, I want to actually open up the mic here and get some interaction going. And I want to bring up this at the crossroads map so that we can hear who are you, where are you from, what are the crossroads issues that bring you here to shift it at this time, and what do you want to get out of it? What are your desired outcomes? And you can hear as we go through, we might not get everybody done today. We'll do some more next time for those of you who we don't fit into today's call. But now we're going to start to understand who our cohort is, right? Who are the wonderful people that are joining you during these weeks that we go through this experience together. There's often many synchronicities about who shows up when. And friendships are formed, different kinds of supports and alliances and resources can be traded amongst people who are in a cohort. So I really look forward to now introducing you to each other and getting this rolling.